Remember the ANZACs, those brave men and women from the Australia and New Zealand Army Corps that paid the ultimate price so that we may enjoy the freedom that we have today. Keith Payne was born at Ingham in Queensland, Australia on the 30th of August 1933. He was appointed to the Australian Army training team in Vietnam on the 24th of February 1969. Payne's initial duties in Vietnam were with a mobile strike force that was reconnoitring enemy infiltration routes from Laos into Vietnam. These routes were being used to surround the newly established Ben Hutt Special Forces camp. On the 24th of May, Payne was commanding the 212th Company of the 1st Mobile Strike Force Battalion when the unit's hilltop position was attacked by a large North Vietnamese force. A barrage of rockets, mortars and machine gun fire hit the two forward companies from three directions simultaneously. The Indigenous soldiers under Payne's command faltered, forcing Payne to mount a vigorous single-handed defence, firing his rifle and throwing grenades to keep the enemy from overrunning his panicked soldiers. In the process, he was wounded in the hand, upper arm and hip by shrapnel from rockets and mortar rounds. The US officer commanding the battalion decided to make a fighting withdrawal back to base. With a small number of soldiers from his company which had suffered heavy casualties, Payne covered the withdrawal for the rest of the force. By nightfall, Payne had gathered a composite party of survivors of his own and other companies into a small defensive perimeter about 350 metres from the hill they had previously occupied, now in the hands of North Vietnamese Army. In darkness, Payne, on his own initiative, set off to find other survivors who had been cut off during the confused withdrawal. Around 9 p.m. he found one such group. This was followed by a similar searches over hundreds of metres of dark jungle over the next 3 hours. Payne was able to locate 40 men in total, several of whom were wounded, some of whom Payne personally dragged to safety. He organised for others who were not wounded to crawl out, taking the wounded with them. He led his group of rescued soldiers back to the temporary perimeter, only to find that it had been abandoned when the remaining troops withdrew back to the battalion base. Undeterred, he led his party, along with another group of wounded he encountered on the way, back to the battalion base, arriving at around 3 a.m. Payne was evacuated from Vietnam in September 1969 and received a warm public welcome back in Australia. He was presented with his Victoria Cross by the Queen aboard the Royal Yacht Britannia at Brisbane on the 13th of April 1970.